I keep telling people like it's a game changer when you see the feedback. It's like
Hmm.
you don't really know, like I don't know, but then you do it and you see the feedback and you see that these kids who maybe wouldn't do it or only do part of it are now doing way more.
Hi, my name is Bruno Morlan, and I'm a high school social studies teacher. In this series, Producer Class Companion, I talk to teachers from various different subjects and highlight some of the exciting work that they're doing in their classes. Recently, I got to talk to Shane Wichers, who teaches US History and Civics at Nooksack Valley High School. He talked about how he started using Class Companion assignments as his homework so that his students could have multiple attempts at learning the material. Here's a little bit of our conversation.
I've used it. I've used it more in U.S. history,
Hmm.
but I have used it in civics. I have used it also for essays, and I tried it with an outline. So I've kind of tried all the
Yeah,
different ways.
Companion, did you get a chance to kind of gauge where the writing level was at before and seen any difference of what it's like now that they've had a couple of months to use it?
I definitely think they're well. I think two things. I think they read questions a lot more carefully because it's very specific to what it's asking. I think the biggest difference I see is when I checked off homework before class companion, it was just a quick circle the room. Does it? I was just making sure they were on topic, but how
Hmm.
how precise they were being, I couldn't do. And so now because the feedback they're getting, they're a lot more precise in their citing of sources, using evidence to support their answers. So I would definitely say I've seen a huge improvement. I also noticed before I used Class Companion that when I would circle the room to check off homework, that most of the kids were just doing it right then in the moment. It was just a quick thing because
Yeah.
they could. Well, now they can't do that, so they have to put more thought into it. And because they're putting more thought in and the feedback they're getting, I would definitely say the level of their writing has improved.
Yeah, and I guess even to that point, like you wouldn't ever give someone multiple attempts that's completing a homework assignment before, would you?
No, never.
Yeah.
And so this gives them opportunity to improve. And in the past, it's basically, like, oh, you did half of it, or yeah, it looks like you have two quotes in there. I see quotation marks,
Hmm.
hit two paragraphs, full credit. But again, excuse me, outside of I didn't have time to read the whole thing because there's 28 kids. I can't spend that much time doing it. So this wasn't very reliable. It was
Yeah.
more just me checking off, did you attempt to do the homework?
Yeah.
Does it look like it's complete? Now with Class Companion, I know they have to write on topic and it has to be precise for them to get the points.
Did you ever have students who were like who almost took it personally when you didn't give them the full points, when you hand graded it, and they don't necessarily feel that same way whenever they're having a computer tell them that it's wrong?
Well, at first, they were really apprehensive about the computer grading it. So I've had
Okay.
to reassure them, like, hey, I'm looking at them all.
Hmm.
So if it says it's wrong, I'm double checking that. So don't panic. Um, but the kids are starting to get pretty good at, in some cases, when it's wrong, they are challenging it. So I get the email, and so I can see.
Oh, so they're using the dispute function.
Yep,
Does that
and
kind of, I guess, make them feel more comfortable that like if they feel like they're right, they don't have to do two more attempts?
exactly. And
Yeah.
also seeing great growth recently with students asking AI for a hint, or
Hmm.
I don't really understand the question. Can you rephrase it at this level so I can understand it? So that's been so they're advocating for themselves using the AI the way it's supposed to be used, not as a tool to do the work, but a tool to help them better understand the work, which I also love.
That sounds really valuable. And I guess ultimately they're preparing for a test or a longer essay in class. And uh, is the progress also reflected in those scores that you see at the end of a unit?
Yeah, so I actually did a little cycle of inquiry around students who use Class Companion for their to put their rough draft in, and it gave them feedback and made
Hmm.
corrections compared to students who didn't. And most kids who used Class Companion scored like A-B range. And the kids that didn't use it were, including zeros, kids who didn't do it, they were in the C-D range.
If you could expand on that, so you gave them, they knew that this is like a longer essay that they were working on over a long period of time,
Correct.
or one that they were going to do. Okay.
It was an end of unit essay, and
Uh-huh.
so they drafted it, and I think on that one I used the outlining feature for them to draft it. Then they took the outline, made it into a draft,
Mm-hmm.
and I had them put it in. So I said, when you finish your draft and you proofread it, because kids don't really peer edit very good. It's kind of a waste. So I was using Class Companion as their peer editor. So I said, put it in to Class Companion. It's got our scoring rubric on there that I'm going to use to grade your essay, and see what it says, and take the feedback you get from the AI, and then make changes. And then when you get all that done, you'll submit it. So the kids that did use Class Companion, they scored on average better than the kids that didn't. And so
that's really great, because you're actually modeling the draft process in this new kind of 21st century tool setting that we have, where they're always going to have AI available to them. But if they just let AI do the work, then they don't learn anything, and they don't really show that they can formulate thoughts. But if you kind of give them the step-by-step and scaffold it for them, then that's awesome that those that took advantage of it were able to succeed at the end of the unit.
Yeah, and it just proved to me like this is a valuable tool that can help you. And so it's worthwhile to use.
I'm going to step in here and show you guys what it's like to be in Shane's Class Companion account. So I'm going to click on the sample class that I made for him and go to the assignment that I've copied from his classes that he has with his students. When I click on it, since it's still a draft, it takes me to the back end where I can edit the title, the unit, the rubric, and then also the questions, as well as the number of attempts that students will get. So I can click on the eyeball on the top right hand of the screen, and I can see what it would look like on the student side. Now I'm going to start by feeding Class Companion an answer that is incorrect. And by that, I mean that I'm only going to produce one paragraph instead of two, and only going to address one of the issues in the question, not both of them. So I've got my answer typed in, and I'm going to hit send for Class Companion to grade it. So I have gotten the question incorrect, but you can see that Class Companion is giving me feedback on how to improve my response. It says, please add a second paragraph focusing on the northern perspective and the goal of preserving the Union to complete your answer. So now I'm going to do that as if I have written the response using the feedback. I'm going to hit send. And now Class Companion is happy with the progress that I made, and it even gave me a screen full of confetti.
With, all different level students, like the high achieving students, I had one girl like throw her fist in the air when she got it on the first attempt. So that was cool.
Mm-hmm.
I've had, SPED students who struggle to do the two paragraphs. When they're getting really good feedback, they continue to work at it until they get two paragraphs, which that's really cool. I've had a multilingual student write in Spanish, and it reads it. So that's cool. So they can do it in their native language. And then, like I told you a minute ago, I had a student, another multilingual struggling learners learning, but she told the AI to rewrite it at a 6th grade level for her. And the question she wrote 2 paragraphs, and then it said, great job. You shown you understand it. So, it's helping every student, regardless of what level they're at and what they need.
Have you shared it with anyone else in your department or at your school site? Is anyone else catching on to it?
Yeah, so have shared it with the rest of the social studies department. And I keep telling people, like, it's a game changer when you see the feedback. It's like, you don't really know, like, I don't know, but then you do it and you see the feedback and you see that these kids who maybe wouldn't do it or only do part of it are now doing way more.
Yeah.
You can't argue against those results. And so I'm in.